Someone told me early in my career that I was too direct. Many people. I've been told that my whole life, actually. You talk too much. You say the wrong things. You're too direct. You're too loud. But interestingly, I never internalized that. I've internalized plenty of other things, don't get me wrong, but people telling me that just felt like they weren't my people. So, okay then. But then I went to work and I became hyper aware that my style and personality, I thought, needed to be curbed to fit in. I didn't want to be loud or too direct or talk too much. So I started to overcorrect. I watched myself more carefully. I softened edges. I added qualifiers. I checked my tone before I spoke in meetings. I was trying to become less of whatever they meant by too direct without really knowing what that was. And every once in a while, my direct response would leak out. And someone who didn't know me very well called me aggressive, which wasn't true. That's only happened to me once, but I remembered it. And then something interesting happened a few years into my career. I landed at a company where people were boisterous. Communication was critically important, and people spoke up, even if it was clumsy. And other people, those colleagues, bosses, clients, started telling me something different. You always know where you stand with Christina. She doesn't mince words. If you want an honest take, ask Christina. And they found that useful. That was a new way of defining how I added value, and it felt good. So pay attention here. This is my observation. Being called aggressive acts as a label, but being called direct acts as an observation. And the difference between those two words and the way they are used in the workplace is profound. When someone calls you aggressive in a meeting, they are not describing your communication. They are describing their own discomfort with it. Those are not the same thing. And that's what we're talking about today. I'm Christina Holloway. For over 25 years, I've coached senior leaders at organizations like Google, GE, and Spotify to architect their authority and navigate the high-stakes politics of the Fortune 500. On this channel, I show you how to recognize the power plays hiding in plain sight and how to communicate with the presence that demands a seat at the table. This is week 3 of August's Strategic Leader series. So far, we've talked about why saying no is a leadership move, and we've talked about how to identify power plays that can hold you back in your career. Today, we're talking about voice. Specifically, what happens when your most valuable communication asset gets mislabeled as a liability. All right, so let's get started. Let's start with the word itself, aggressive. It's one of the most loaded words in professional environments, and it gets applied in ways that have almost nothing to do with its actual definition. Aggressive implies intent. It suggests someone is trying to harm, dominate, or override. It's a word that belongs in conflict. In a professional meeting, it almost never describes what's actually happening. What's actually happening is usually one of 3 things. Someone is being direct. They're saying clearly what they mean without wrapping it in qualifications or softening language. The message is efficient, and some people find efficiency uncomfortable. Someone is being assertive. They're holding a position under pressure. They're not moving just because someone pushed back. Some people find that threatening. Someone is being honest. They're saying the thing that's true, but inconvenient. They're speaking to what everyone else is thinking, but hasn't said. Some people find that disruptive. None of those things are aggressive, but all of them can trigger the label, particularly for women, and particularly in work environments where the protocol is that disagreement should be performed gently or not at all. Here's the mechanism for that. When someone calls your communication aggressive, they're telling you something about their own comfort level. They're not giving you accurate feedback about your behavior. They're describing the gap between how you communicate and how they expected you to communicate. That gap belongs to them, not to you. This is important because most professionals who care about how they're perceived receive that label and immediately start adjusting. They get quieter. They add more qualifiers. They wait longer before speaking. They monitor themselves in real time during meetings instead of actually being present in them. This is one of the first signs of involuntary compliance, and it creates a catastrophic cascade into group thinking, and it happens fast. So your communication style is not the problem. A work environment that can't distinguish between directness and aggression is the problem. And while you can't always change the work environment, not right away, you can stop letting someone else's discomfort define your voice. The goal isn't to become less direct. The goal is to become so strategically intentional in how you use your directness that the label becomes ineffective. So what does it look like to own your voice in a meeting without triggering this reaction and without shrinking yourself? Well, it's about being more precise. Here's what I mean. The professionals who command the most authority in high-stakes meetings are the clearest. They say fewer words than everyone else, and those words carry more weight. They've learned to use precision as a form of presence. That's the skill. Okay, and it has 3 specific expressions. Number 1, the grounded entry. Most people who hold back in meetings wait too long to speak. They're waiting for the perfect moment. And while they're waiting, someone else says a lesser version of the thing they were about to say and gets the credit for it. So the grounded entry is how you stop waiting. It's a short declarative statement that claims your space before your full point is ready. Something like, I want to add something to that. There's a piece of this I think we're missing. I've been thinking about this differently. Let me share why. That's it. You've entered the conversation. You've signaled that you have something worth hearing, and now the others are waiting for you instead of moving past you. You don't need permission to enter. You need intention. Number 2, the reframe question. This is one of the most powerful tools available to a direct communicator, and it's amazingly effective. When a conversation is moving in a direction you think is wrong, the instinct is to say so directly, and sometimes that's exactly right. But in a room with dominant voices or political complexity, a direct challenge can trigger defensiveness before you can even make your point. The reframe question does the same work without the static. Instead of saying, I don't think that approach is going to work, you can say, can I ask what problem we're actually trying to solve here? What assumption is this based on? Because I want to make sure I'm tracking the right thing. What does success look like if we go this direction? Those questions aren't passive, they're precise. They slow the conversation down and redirect it without requiring you to directly oppose anyone. They have to stop and answer. And in answering, they often find the problem you are about to unpack anyway. You don't have to say the hard thing. You have to ask the question that makes the others say it. Number 3, the calm restatement. This one is specifically for the moment when your point gets ignored, talked over, or absorbed into someone else's contribution without credit. It happens constantly. You say something, the conversation moves on. 3 minutes later, someone else says a version of your point, and everyone responds as though they're hearing it for the first time. The calm restatement is how you handle that without making it a confrontation. You simply say, I want to come back to what I raised earlier. I think it connects directly to what Bob just said. That's actually the point I was making a few minutes ago. I'm glad it's getting traction. Yes, and to build on what I said before, so this is a clear, calm reclamation of your contribution. You're not calling anyone out. You're making sure the record reflects what actually happened. This one needs practice because it's going to feel awkward at first. Here's what connects all 3 of these moves. None of them require you to be someone you're not. None of them ask you to soften your thinking or dilute your perspective. They're not about managing how you come across. They're about delivering what you actually have to say in a way that manages how others can receive it, and that keeps your name attached to your ideas. That's strategic communication. It's not performative. It's not self-regulation. It's strategy. And strategy, by definition, is intentional. You're not reacting to others. You're deciding how to move through the conversation. So, what do you do when you've done everything right? You've entered the conversation with intention. You've asked the precise question. You've reclaimed your contribution calmly, and someone still calls you too much. It happens. It will keep happening because some work environments are specifically calibrated to read directness as a threat. And no amount of strategic precision will change an environment that has decided it prefers comfortable silence over useful debate. So let's talk about what to do when the aggressive label lands anyway. Move number 1, separate the feedback from the label. When someone tells you that you came across as aggressive, your job is not to accept that framing or even reject it entirely. Your job is to get underneath it to find the truth. Ask one question. Can you tell me specifically what I said or did that landed that way? This is intended to give you their motive. If they can point to something specific, a tone, a word choice, a moment, you may have something to work with. You can evaluate it, learn from it if it's accurate, and file it away if it isn't. If they can't point to anything specific, if the feedback is just a general impression with no concrete example, that tells you something important too. You now know that this is someone who is uncomfortable around you, and you don't have to internalize a label like that. Move number 2, name your intent without apologizing for your impact. Do not apologize. There's a version of this conversation that goes badly, and it sounds like this. I'm so sorry if I came across that way. That wasn't my intention at all. I didn't mean to make anyone uncomfortable. Do not apologize. And I've been leading up to this point. If someone tells you that your personality or your approach is too much for them, well, don't apologize for being yourself. People weaponize language all day, every day to turn a harmless interaction into some egregious offense so they can stay inside their comfort zone. Enough of that. A stronger response sounds like this. And there are a few different ways to handle this depending on how comfortable you feel with each response. To your boss. That's not how I intended it to land. My goal was to make sure we were addressing the real issue. Can we talk about what specifically felt off? To a colleague. What was it about what I shared that made you uncomfortable? To a subordinate who mentioned you came across too strong, because that can be valid feedback. I admit I have a direct approach. My door is always open, however, for you to expand on your perspective. You're not apologizing for your directness. You're opening a conversation. That's a completely different dynamic. And also, this is a power play. Someone is trying to turn you into someone you're not so they can have the advantage. Don't fall for it. Move number 3, know when the work environment is the problem. This is the hardest one to accept. Some workplaces will never make room for the kind of communication you bring because the culture has decided that getting along or compliance is more valuable than dialogue. In those environments, the aggressive label is telling you the culture's tolerance. And when you recognize that, you have a decision to make, not about your communication style or your communication strategy, about your work environment. You can stay and adapt. You can stay and continue to push, or you can start investing your energy in environments where what you bring is genuinely valued rather than managed. That's not a failure. That's a strategic career move. Here's what I want you to walk away with. You are not too much. Part of your job as a strategic leader is to know the difference between feedback that makes you better and a label that just makes someone else more comfortable. Own the observation, release the label, and keep speaking up. Okay, so here's what I want you to take from today. Speaking up clearly, directly, and without apology, even when someone labels you for it. That's a leadership move. Strategic leadership isn't a personality type. It's not about being the loudest or the most polished or the most politically agile person in the room. It's about knowing what you bring, deploying it with intention, and refusing to let someone else's discomfort define your professional identity. You are not too much. You are precise. You are not too direct. You are clear. You are not aggressive. You are honest. And those things are assets. Next week, we're closing out August with a video I think is going to land hard. Why doing great work stops getting you promoted. If you've been delivering excellent results and wondering why the recognition isn't following, well, that one is for you. It connects everything we've talked about this month into one question. What actually moves careers forward at the senior level and what unintentionally holds them back? All right, so that's it for my video on how to speak up in meetings without sounding aggressive. If today's video resonated, if you've been handed a label that doesn't fit, or if you've been holding back in meetings because you're not sure how it will land, I want to hear about it in the comments below. Tell me which of the 3 moves you're going to use first. Don't forget my free communication toolkit is linked in the description below, and the Hogan Leadership Blueprint is linked there as well. On a final note, the next time someone hands you a label, pause before you accept it. Ask yourself one question. Is this feedback about what I did, or is it about how they felt? Those are different answers. And knowing the difference is how you stop shrinking and start leading. Sit with that and then take action. I'm Christina Holloway. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.